Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel. This video is very special because we would like to dedicate this video to our beloved lecturer, Ibu Sri Wuli Fitriati Ph.D. for our final examination to the course Advanced Discourse Studies. And before we present to our material, I would like to introduce for the presenters. Consists of Mbak Nur Azmi Rohimajaya, and then Mbak Ika Yanti Zisca, and the last one is me myself, Aprilian Ria Adisti. Well, actually, every day we do the interaction with others in the community or society. So, for the foreign language learners in English, it is very important for us to learn about speech act, especially when we want to translate from our first language or our mother tongue to the target language. So that's we are going to present today is about the speech act, which consists of the definition of speech act, classification of speech act, and also speech act in action. Alright, before we learn about the definition of speech act, let me share the pictures. So you have to look at the pictures. Actually, I have 3 pictures here. Yeah, maybe we can say that this is memes, yeah? Okay, maybe you are very familiar with these memes because sometimes we get this kind of memes in our social media. For the first, yeah, update status using English but don't know the meaning. Tuman, okay. And then the second one is our phone fall, we panic. Our friends fall, we laugh. Okay, yeah, it happens, yeah. And then the last one is I won't get out till you buy me an iPhone. Oh my goodness, yeah. This is the young generations, yeah. Everybody has the gadget, yeah. Alright, so maybe when you are as the reader, when you read or when you see this picture, you will give your own comment. Sometimes when we read for the utterance here, we will understand or sometimes we don't understand. Why? Because when the situation is familiar with us, we will understand. But when the situation is not familiar with us, we don't understand. For example, when you don't know the definition of tuman, maybe you will ask, what is tuman? Or maybe when someone doesn't know about iPhone, maybe he or she cannot give the reaction at all. Yeah, so that's only brainstorming before we talk about the speech act. So actually, when we speak a language, we are performing a speech act. Why? Because utterances are not only set of phrases, but also consist of intentional actions. When we give the utterance, when we produce the utterance, we must have the intentional action. It's not only just phrases, but also consists of intentional actions. Alright, so the example of the speech act, for example, speech act sometimes it just only consists of one word. For example, I can say, hi, how are you? That's speech act. Why? Because I have the intention to greet someone. I will say, hi, how are you? Or when you want to give the compliment to someone, you can say, awesome, great, excellent. Or if you want to refuse the situation or if you want to deny for the situation, you will say no. Just say no. That's speech act because it has intentional actions. Alright, so actually, what is the meaning of speech act? Yeah. Now, we will learn about the definition of speech act. According to dictionary.com, speech act is any of the act that may be performed by a speaker in making an utterance, as stating, asking, requesting, advising, warning, and persuading. So they are considered in terms of the content of message, the intention of the speaker, and also the effect on the listener. So there are 3 parts of the speech act, 3 crucial parts. The first is content of the message, and then intention of the speaker, and the last one is the effect on the listener. Alright, so now we would like to talk about the history of speech act. Okay, actually, John Austin in his book entitled How to Do Things with Words is the first to introduce the idea of speech act, which means analyzing the relationship between utterances and also the performance. We can underline utterances and performance, the relationship. So that's called speech act. For the first time, it is introduced by John Austin. All right. So speech act is an action performed by means of language. There are some examples. If we want to use the speech act, the first is when we want to describe something, we can say, for example, it is snowing. Or if we want to ask a question, we can say, is it snowing? Or if we want to make a request or order, we can say, could you pass the salt? Drop your weapon or I will shoot you. Request, order. Or if you want to make a promise, you can say, I will promise, I will give it back. I'll promise, I'll give it back. That's promise, yeah? Another examples, when we want to convey the information, for examples, the Prime Minister is out of the country. That's convey the information. If we want to request for the information, we can say, when is the lecture? Or where is the lecture? Okay. If we want to give the orders, we can say, stand up, sit down, orders. If we want to make the request, we can say, please carry my bag. If we want to threat for someone, we can say, do that again, and I will send you to your room. Do that again. Yeah, we want to threat for someone. Okay. And then if we want to give the warning, we can say, there is a spider on your shoulder. Be careful. A spider on your shoulder. Okay. This is for giving warnings, yeah. And the last one is giving advice, for example. You can say, you ought to go to the lectures every week. So that's the example of speech act. Okay. All right. So people use language with communicative intentions. As the good speaker, if you want to be the successful in conveying the message, yeah, your communicative intention must be understood by the hearer. So there must be the communication. There is the intention from the speaker, and the hearer will understand and give the reactions. So what I have to highlight here, what is the definition of speech act? Speech act are act of communication that express those intentions. So that's called speech act. All right. For the classification of the speech act and also the speech act in action will be presented by my friends, Mbak Azmi and also Mbak Ika. So that's all of my part. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Well, thank you. In this part, I would like to continue the material that related to classification of speech act. According to Austin, there are three classifications of speech act. They are locutionary, illocutionary, and verlocutionary. The first classification is locutionary speech act. Locutionary speech act is a basic act of utterance or producing a meaningful linguistic expression. There is the example of locutionary speech act. It is raining outside. What the speaker say. The utterance, it is raining outside, is producing a sentence, the meaningful of which is based on a reference to a particular raining and outside. There is the literal meaning. It is a locutionary act. A speaker must produce clearly the words in order to deliver the intended meaning of the message. The second one is illocutionary speech act. Illustrationary speech act, it is not just saying something itself, but the act of saying with the intention of stating an opinion, making a promise or request, issuing an order or decision, giving an advice or permission. Here the example of illustrationary speech act. It is raining outside. It refers to the giving an advice or what the speaker mean when he or she say it. Speaker's intention in delivering an utterance act accomplished in speaking and defined within a system of social convention. Illustrationary acts include stating, warning, threatening, ordering, predicting, and requesting. The example, it is raining outside, the utterance would mean speaker wishes or wants to the listener to use an umbrella if she or he goes out, or speaker wants you not to go out because it is still raining in outside. And the last one is a perlocutionary speech act. Perlocutionary speech act is the effect produced on the listener when they listen locutionary act, or this is the hearer's response. For the example of perlocutionary speech act, it is raining outside. It refers to the what the speakers accomplish by saying it. In the perlocutionary act, action or state of mind brought about or by or as a sequence of saying something, effect or result of the utterance on the listener depending on the specific circumstance. Perlocutionary act include persuading, embarrassing, intimidating, irritating, or inspiring the listener. The utterance, it is raining outside, have some perlocutionary effect. The first, the listener may use the umbrella when he or she goes out, or the listener may stay while waiting for the rain to subside. Especially in illustrationary speech act, according to Shirley, some the classification of illustrationary speech act. They are representatives, directives, commissives, expressives, and declaration. The first is representative. The representatives contain a certain statement about the word, for example, describing, claiming, and concluding. Here, the example of representative: no one makes a better cake than me. The utterance means that the speaker claims that no one makes a better cake than him. The second one is directives. They direct the listener towards doing something. For example, ordering, asking, requesting, or advising. The example of directives: could you close the window? It means that the speaker asking someone to close the window. The third one is a commissive. Commissive is a speaker commits himself to doing something. For example, promising, threatening, offering. The example of commissive: I'm going to Paris tomorrow. So the speaker commits for himself that he or she wants to go or have a planning to go to Paris tomorrow. Yeah, the next one is expressives. The expressive, how the speaker feels about a certain situation. For example, thanking, apologizing, welcoming. And here the example of expressive. Excuse me when stepping on a person's toe. Yeah. Excuse me or sorry when we made a mistake to someone. Yeah. It is the example of expressive. And the last one is a declaration. The point of which is to bring something, the word, for example, christening, marrying, and varying. The example of declaration, you are hereby fired. The speaker means that you are hereby fired. The example of declaration here, the speaker is someone who fired his employee. Maybe the speaker is a boss or a manager who fired his employee. Well, I think that's all for this material. So the conclusion, the locutionary act is what we say. The locutionary act is the intention of producing meaning. And then illocutionary act is intention of producing meaning. There are 5 classification of illocutionary speech act. They are representative, directives, commissive, expressive, and declaration. And the last one is perlocutionary act. It means that the effect of intended action or result. Well, the next material will be presented by the next presenter. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, students. Well, today we are going to continue our materials. The previous material have explained by Ibu Aprilian and Ibu Nur Azmi. In this occasion, I will continue the material with the title Direct and Indirect Speech Act. Well, students, actually our material today is not really broad because I just want to continue the explanation from Ibu Nur Azmi. Here I just want to show you some example about these materials. Well, Direct and Indirect Speech Act. Direct Speech Act is a relationship between 3 structural forms. They are declarative, interrogative, and imperative. And the 3 general communication function, that is statement, question, and command or request. Actually, you are really familiar with this term in your English. Well, for example, for you, the first, you eat bread. Nah, you eat bread here function as declarative. Well, because the sentence here contains you eat bread. There is no another function of this statement except declarative. Just state that you eat the bread. Well, next, move to the next example. Do you eat bread? Do you eat bread? Well, after listen the tone of this sentence, I think all of you can understand what kind of this sentence. Can you guess it, students? Okay, thank you. This is an interrogative sentence or questions. Well, can we move to the next example? Okay. The next example for direct speech here is eat bread. eat bread, meaning that the sentence asks you or command you to eat the bread. It's mean that the type of this sentence is, well, imperative. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. Now we move to the next part, indirect speech act. Well, indirect speech act is an indirect relationship between structure and the function of the language. Well, I will give you one example here. The sentence is, it's winter and the window is open. Someone produced this sentence. Can you guess what is the meaning of this sentence? Well, I will repeat the sentence. Someone say, it's winter and the window is open. Actually, this sentence contains indirect meaning in speech act. Well, I put two examples here. The first meaning is, it's cold in here because now it's winter and the window is open. Automatically, the weather is feel cold. Okay, students? And the second meaning of this sentence, it would be, I hereby request that you close the window. Because the weather is very cold and the window is open now, the indirect meaning of this utterance is, the people just now who produced the sentence request you or command you to close the window. Get the point? Okay. Well, I will give you another example of speech act in action. Actually, this is another type of example for functions of the sentence. The first is, you're fired. You're fired. This sentence express statement. Okay, the meaning of this sentence is the actions by someone tells to the employment that his career is stopped now because the boss, maybe the boss just now say, you're fired. Okay, this is a kind of expressing statement, I mean. Well, the next example is, I hereby appoint you as chairman. I hereby appoint you as chairman. This sentence expressing that someone is choose as chairman, maybe in the classroom or in one group. The type of these actions called promotes. Okay, promotes someone or individual in one position. The position is chairman. Okay, can you get the point that the sentence expressing promote? Okay, this is also one example of speech act in action. Next example for you, we ask that you extinguish your cigarette at this time and bring your tray tables and seat backs to an upright position. When you hear this sentence, can you guess where we hear this command? Okay, in public place. Okay, this statement describes the requirements of the current location or public place, such as in the airplane, or in there are many public place, maybe in the airport, in the bus school, maybe. Okay, so here this sentence is expressing what? Expressing comment. Well, to ask the passenger or the people to put off their cigarette. Okay, this is actually in particular place, maybe in public place or public transportation. Next example. Would it be too much trouble for me to ask you to hand me the reins? Okay, can you hear the statement? At the end of the statements, there is a question mark. Well, these questions actually consist of two expressions. The first is to ask the listener or interlocutor or someone that we are together in one place, and also the second meaning is this is a kind of request. Why this is a kind of request? Because the first speaker actually asks his or her friends to pass the reins to his or her. So there are two functions of this sentence. The first is asking, okay, and the first is a request. The second is request. Okay. Well, the last example for you, is, well, would you listen to that? Also, we put a question mark at the end of the sentence. Would you listen to that? Well, actually this sentence acts as questions and requesting the listener what is being said by the speaker, and also an exclamation of disbelief or shock. The speaker here expressing sentence by disbelief or shock about something that will hear by his or her, by he or her. Okay, so the last sentence here, or the last examples here, expressing, the first is questions and the second is exclamation. Well, I think it's enough for this time. I hope all of you can understand what I explained to you just now, and if you have another question or problem, you may contact me by WhatsApp group, in our group. And thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, students.